from nowhere near Television City in Hollywood, this is the Game Show Reviewer. Today's special feature, an in-depth behind-the-scenes look at the making of the immensely unpopular internet series that looks at game shows. Weirdo. And now, here's your host, the Game Show Reviewer.
Thank you, and thank you. Howdy y'all, I'm your Game Show Reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud, and welcome to a special behind-the-scenes look at the making of this show. I'm here on the set of the $100,000 Pyramid because, let's face it, where else would I be? Let's get this show on the road. Okay, so from July 1st to July 5th, 2014, I asked you, the viewers, to submit your questions you had for this special, and you responded in droves. I mean, I think I got a whole 7 or 8 questions for this special. So, I've condensed them to the top 6 questions, and I've posted them right here on this board beside me. Now, I've gone ahead and modified the pyramid board slightly with these numbers. I'm actually told a 7-Eleven is on this board for some reason, but I can't imagine why. Oh well. Alright, no more delay. Without further ado, question number 6, please. Have I ever tried to get special guests on this show? Well, I bet I know where this question comes from. This probably stems from this little interaction on Twitter, which started with the release of episode 15.
On May 11, 2014, I finally released a long-delayed episode 15, a review of Nickelodeon's Double Dare. Later that same day, I made the following remark on Twitter. I quote myself, quote, "I gotta admit something. Part of me is somewhat curious what Mr. Mark Summers would say about my new review. URL here," end quote. Later that same day, a viewer actually retweeted that post to Mr. Summers, who very kindly responded to me. And the rest is archived on Twitter for you to see. Well, the short answer is actually no. I've never tried to get a special guest with a connection to the game show being reviewed to appear on my show. That's not to say I wouldn't be open to the idea, however. If anyone out there has a connection to a game show, such as being a contestant or even the host of that program, and wants to get in contact with me, please feel free to do so. And thank you for your question.
Alrighty, let's move on to question number 5. I have stated a few times in the past that the so-called Season 2 will be lighter on storyline. Can I elaborate? Well, I'll be happy to, as much as I can. Now, you might remember this memorable scene from the end of episode 15. Okay, good. Let's get to it.
Well, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to wait a while before seeing what happens next. Allow me to explain. The Season 1 finale episode will not feature a review. It's merely going to tie up the storyline for Season 1. Originally, I had planned to produce a short Season 2 alongside the finale episode so I can keep getting videos produced for you to enjoy and get the visual effects intensive Season 1 finale done, while at the same time having the finale episode act more like a grand finale, if you will. However, after realizing this will make no sense story-wise whatsoever, this has now changed. My new plan is to finish producing the finale episode, then launch into a short Season 2. The unfortunate side effect here, however, is that the long-awaited Scrabble episode will be delayed. Again. There's more about this plan than I'm saying here, but I don't want to bore you too much.
In fact, there is one other thing I can show you. Season 2's new title sequence. Care to take a gander? Nice, right? Well, thank you for your question, and it's onward and upwards to question number 4. Out of the reviews I've done, which one was my favorite and why? Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, there have been memorable moments from all the episodes I've done. Moments I've been extremely proud of, and moments I've been extremely ashamed of, too. down!
Moments I've been very proud of include the ending of episode 11. Not only were the visuals very trying to complete, as this comparison between the rough cut and the final cut show, but I also broke what TV tropes would call the reviewer's wall by interacting with the Chrono Skimmer's crew. It was fun to say the least.
Chrono Skimmer, this is Tempest 1. Captain Shinnick, if you can hear me, your aggressor is not Jacqueline Hyde. I don't have time to explain. Perform a data boost and get out of here!
All right, Time Pilots, I'll name 2 historical figures. Your job, buzz in and tell me whether they were born in the same years or 50 years apart.
Another one I'm particularly proud of was the intro recreation from episode 4 for Press Your Luck. That one still stands out as a big highlight.
Howdy y'all, I'm your game show reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud. And to be totally honest, I think we hit the jackpot with this one. Or maybe big bucks, if you will. Have no idea what I'm talking about? Just take a look around me. And welcome to Press Your Luck.
I can actually easily single out my least favorite episode. That one would be episode 7, The Price is Right Part 2. Usually I want a good mix of storyline and review, but in this case, it felt like I went way overboard with the storyline. It left the review portion feeling more like fluff, and let's face it, the dogfight portion of the storyline really wasn't all that interesting anyway. I'd categorize that as an ashamed moment. However, the question was favorite. And unfortunately, I have to say it's a draw between 3. The cliche thing to say would be whichever one I completed recently is my favorite, so I won't do that here. Episode 8 is a real standout episode to me because it was the first time I was tackling a game show that I felt like I didn't know everything about. I really dove into the research and kept coming up with more and more interesting information on the show, including the ill-fated 2001 show. The following episode also shines to me because it puts a unique spin on everything by having the villain taking the reviewing spot. It also advanced the plot big time and set everything in motion for the remaining shows. And episode 14 is a blue ribbon winner for me because of the visual style of the entire thing. I seriously pulled out all the stops in trying to recreate the visual style of Nick Arcade, and even managed to make the game itself the driving force of the review. So if pressed, I suppose I'd have to say 8, 9, and definitely 14 are my favorite Game Show Reviewer episodes. But I seriously love them all. Episode 7 just slightly less.
And welcome to my editing bay, just outside of Studio 2A. I changed my location because the next 3 questions sort of roll into each other. Wondering what I mean?
What is the research process like, and how long does it take to shoot an episode?
Well, first, I need to know what storyline elements are going to be in each episode. And after that, we can start hammering out the script.
Well, first I need to know what storyline elements to put into the show. That's actually really easy because I've had the entire show's story plotted out from day one. Something I've always tried to do is structure my review after the round system used in the show, so of course I have to know what the show's structure is like. Luckily, a lot of the shows I review I used to enjoy when I was way younger, so I'm already sort of familiar with their structure. Next, I sit down and watch several episodes to get a good feel for the show. Now, history of the show is very important, because sometimes rounds and gameplay elements change from year to year. Not to mention there's also how long the show in question ran and what spin-offs came from it. Most of my research information comes from various sources, from the infamous Wikipedia to specialized game show wikis, and even a few dedicated show fan pages. Once I have a good grasp of the rounds, the history, and the show in general, I can build my script around the necessary storyline elements. There's no specific timeline for my research, and sometimes I even discover new things about the show in question as I'm wrapping up post-production.
Trivia time! I have never put 2 episodes together the exact same way. Sometimes at this point I'll start building up the game show sets, or sometimes they're already built because I built them before I even worked on the script. In fact, for episode 15, I filmed my live action portions before the script was even finalized. Of course, normally I prefer to film first and then build the visuals around that. It all really kind of depends on what mood I'm in. But that covers pre-production and question 3, which brings us to question number 2. What does your real studio setup look like? Well, remember what I said, this is my editing bay, and this is Studio 2A. Why 2A, you ask? Because this is actually my second filming studio. So let's say I take you on a tour of 2A, iPhone style. All right, so we're about to start our tour of Studio 2A. And here it is. So, first things first, you'll notice it's set up in the Tempest 1 configuration here, with the control chair and control wheel and all that good stuff. Let's start over here with the camera. This is a Sony HDV 1000U, I believe. Don't remember how much it cost me, to be honest. I do know I have two of them, though. One of them was a very cheap loan from a friend. But, you know, it's one of these shoulder-mounted cameras. Just the whole reason I got it, to be honest. You'll notice there's like a little boot here for the external mic, which I do have, just not with me at the moment. And also because I use the external wireless lavalier mics, which is how I'm talking to you right now. Oh yeah, one other thing is I do use one of these wide-angle lenses to film. Just gives me a little more room considering how tight the space is here. As you can see, it's really not that big. All right, let's move over here to the laptop here because this is actually kind of interesting. The laptop is a MacBook from 2008, MacBook Pro, running Adobe Premiere Pro, my editing software. Now, here's something interesting. I'm capturing all this live. You can actually see my audio input right there. This is being captured live, and this is actually how I do it all. This is how I do every single episode of this show. I do not record on tape unless it is absolutely necessary. Like in episode 15, when the plane blew up, that was an absolute necessity because I can't bring that laptop with me. These are the lights I use. This was all part of like a starter set, and to be honest, they've worked for me really well. I've got two of them, one there, one here. I'm not sure if you can make out the brand there. I know there's a model number on here somewhere. It's right there. I'll go ahead and put that on your screen just so you could read that normally. But yeah, these are like your standard photographer's lamps, you know, the ones that you see at your high school or any kind of school photo shoot. You know, just two of them. They do a really great job. I mean, look how well it's lighting up the green screen right now. Let me actually get out of the way of them. You can see how nice and evenly that green screen is lit. So let's talk about the props on the show for a little bit. Got them all laid out here on my desk. This, of course, is, you know, the infamous blank. You can actually see me there. The infamous blank name badge that the reviewer and Sarah also wears. By the way, there is only one of these. And likewise, there is only one of these. This is the one and only Tempest program badge. Now, here's the thing. The only thing that are metal on this thing are the star and the circle. Those are like button pieces. Everything else is poster board. Look at that. It's actually mounting tape is how I stick it on. It's not even a standard pin, although it used to be, but that caused so many problems it wasn't even funny. Moving up here, time, space, dimension, enforcement, insignia. You can see a nice piece of tape there. That's been there the entire time. And again, it's made the same way, just with poster board. And this one is a pin, mainly because I don't think the mounting tape would work too well with a piece like that. These are the epaulets I wear in episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and part of 6. They're on my black jacket. Now these are actually just pieces of felt, actually, with some gold piping sewn up along the side. Nice button there on top. Of course, the two trapezoids indicating a captain rank. Now, how I would stick these on my jacket is I would actually normally have a piece of mounting tape right here, and you can kind of see how it's kind of come apart there. But on the other side, I actually use these pins. These, as any Trekkie might recognize, are Commodore's pins, or Rear Admiral pins. I can't remember which one. But I do pin them on. That's how they stay stuck, and they work really well, surprisingly. Of course, my comm links, just a standard iPhone. It's iPhone 4 in a red case. Now, the laser pistol. This is from I can't remember what the exact brand is. I think it was actually just called Laser Tag. Worlds of Wonder, I believe, was the manufacturer. It's a laser tag game from the 1980s, and I just really love the look. Not to mention the fact they came with holsters. Of course, that's just what the standard laser pistol looks like. And anyone who's drawn a laser pistol, they either use this one or one of the other 6. There are 6 of these. I just got them as part of a lot. And this, by the way, this holster is the only one that I colored in sort of the red so that you wouldn't see it as much, although I didn't really do that great of a job there. That's what it's normally supposed to look like. And whenever Sarah wears it, you can see she actually is left-handed. So you see the red as opposed to, that. And bonus feature here, I guess, is what my script looks like. Or actually right here. So one more thing. Oh, before I get over there, let me show you this here. See this piece of white cardboard here? This is, poster board, I should say. This is actually how I white balance the scene. I normally toss it up here on the chair, with the camera, zoom in, and try to white balance it out. Those of you who work in the film industry know what that is. And actually, I'm willing to bet a whole bunch of you other ones know who that is. Anyone who does these reviews knows who that is. All right, those 2 doors there, those are storage. And there is an actual label there on both of them. And of course, that's a dressing room / bathroom. That's my board. We're not going to see that. That's actually where I keep track of all the productions. So if you want to freeze frame that, go ahead. There is a few spoilers on that board. Now over here, masking tape, very important. This is the holster for my iPhone 4. This is how I hold on the comm link. And that hasn't been on the show yet. This here is your standard joystick. What's the company's name? It's like, I think it's a Satlic, I believe. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah. This actually has been on the show. This is the control joystick for Orion 3, whenever that's being used. See, it's one of my favorite features is this guard here flips up and down. Now, that red light, it may actually blink, it may not, I don't know. Because I never plug it in for anything else other than as a prop. Whenever it needs to blink on the show, I just, hand animate it, visual effects wise. And now we're going to talk about this one here. This is actually also made by the same company, Satlic. And it's just your standard, control yoke. I did try to black out the word Satlic there, just because, I have used this. I have used it in the show at some point. I just can't remember what it was. And of course, it's clamped onto my desk so that I have free reign of it. And, I can fake the subtime thing. Now, ever wonder what my perspective looks like when I'm filming the show? Well, there it is. In fact, you can tell, there I am right here. Kind of interested in doing the show like this, I'll be honest. But, well, there you go. All right. Oh, that's right. There's something I forgot to talk to you about is these, the Tempest Program Insignia. These are a relative new addition to the show. There will be a few more seen, but yeah. I haven't decided whether or not I want to make these available for fans or anything, but doubtful I will. All right, but yeah, that's what my perspective looks like when I'm filming the show. Howdy all, I'm your game show reviewer, reviewing the game show greats and the occasional dud. That's how it works. So, go ahead, go back out to the editing bay. Now, you might be wondering, how do I turn all that into the show you know? Well, it just so happens that brings us to our last question up here on this board. Yes, all right, 7-Eleven. Okay, seriously, what's the real last question? How do I recreate and use the game show sets? Well, sorry to shatter the illusion, but it should be fairly obvious that this is a CG recreation of the original Pyramid set. I mean, the original was destroyed so many years ago. But with my CG recreation, I could do anything I want here. Let's head on back to the editing bay. I'll show you what I mean. You know, you might find this surprising, but in the grand scheme of things, I would actually prefer to use real sets, and if it were possible, the actual game show sets to film this show. But since it ain't gonna happen on a less than shoestring budget, I'm forced to use everyone's seemingly most hated cinema tool: computer-generated imagery.
CGI seems to be a catch-all term, which also seems to have lost the meaning of the acronym itself. Computer-generated imagery means just that: images that are created or manipulated by some form of computer software. So, I'll introduce you to my software, starting with NewTek's Lightwave 3D. Here, the virtual world of the game show reviewer starts with basic shapes. The first step to building out a game show set is first figuring out what's going to be needed for the show. For instance, I knew I was going to be needing the entire pyramid set for the original episode, so I was forced to build out the entire set. But for something like Legends of the Hidden Temple, I would only need part of the Steps of Knowledge and the Shrine of the Silver Monkey, so that's all I really built. After I determine what portions of the set to actually build, it's time to start roughing out the general shapes of stuff. Be it a game board or a background piece, everything needs to be modeled first. I also try to have reference photos and videos standing by, since that's what I'm supposed to build, and my memory isn't exactly known for its accuracy.
I'm going to give it a right proper review by any means necessary.
Yeah, anyways, the next step is texturing. I take snapshots of the model and then build the textures out using those snapshots as reference. It also makes applying them a breeze. However, we aren't quite done yet. See, now all we have are colored shapes, and it doesn't look anything like the game show set known by so many. That's what lighting is for. My lighting styles for these shows has always been to try to recreate the original lighting pattern, but to make it dimmer to have an after-hours feel. The general effect I've always gone for is to make it seem like all the set's electronics are on, but the lighting grid is dimmed by about half. This gives some fun shadow effects and makes everything just a touch more dramatic in my opinion. There's still a problem though. So I can recreate these spectacular game show sets in 3D, but it's all pretty worthless if I can't put myself on them. Well, let's enter the magical world of the traveling matte, otherwise known as chroma key or the green screen effect.
Most people's snap reaction to filming on green screen is to use it like the 10 o'clock news meteorologist. And we've got some spotty storms in and around the Cannondale area tonight. Expect lows tonight in the low 70s, highs tomorrow in the low 90s with mild humidity. But here's the trick. Don't think you're confined to just this square, or even just this camera angle for that matter. In fact, you know what? This shot looks pretty useless, doesn't it? I mean, it's on its side and everything. Well, surprisingly, this is actually how I get more or less about 50% of the shots I actually need for the game show reviewer. My compositing software is Adobe After Effects, and it is a great tool to work with. Everything is just a matter of manipulating the single elements to suit your needs and not letting the single elements themselves dictate what's accomplishable. When you think outside the box, or in this case outside the camera frame, you can find that some amazing stuff is really possible. Not bad. Oh, by the way, this aircraft behind me, this is no exception to the modeling rules. It was built and modeled the exact same way as the game show sets are. Now, sometimes I appear to actually interact with the sets. $50 lower. From an $850 minimum, we have... Oh, another 8. So you lose $50 on that. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. We'll move that to the next line and grant an additional $200. What's your pleasure?
Well, that's an easy trick actually. Those are real cards I'm holding, but whenever I don't have to hold any card, it's a CG card on the board. Editing is your friend. Now, I can't spoil all my tricks. Some things have to remain secret in order for the magic to take you by surprise, but I do hope you now know just a little bit more about how these visual effects are accomplished. But the visuals are just the final part of this process, which includes scripting, filming, and editing. All told, render time not included, a standard caliber episode of the Game Show Reviewer can take around 2 or 3 weeks to finish, and that's assuming I could work on the show full time. Which I can't. Sometimes there are full days or even full weeks when I can't even lay a finger on this show. And then there's render times, which can be an absolute nightmare. For those who don't know, rendering is basically the computer calculating everything needed and spitting out a finished video. I've had single render passes that take up to 2 to 3 days to finish for one pass. And a pass, by the way, is a render of a certain element, like, say, the flashing lights in the pyramid here. One more little thing here, I usually record my voiceover as I'm editing. I like to record in my editing bay using the same mic as I do in production, nothing too special. Of course, I capture this all live, just like I do the live action footage. All in all, my objective is always to deliver a quality product, and a rushed product is simply never quality.
And unfortunately, that's where this list ends. Except I'll tell you what, I'm going to answer every single question emailed to me right here, right now, no holds barred. It's all up there on that board. 60 seconds on the clock, please. All right, for the next 60 seconds, I will answer every question on that board truthfully and to the best of my ability. All right, first question on the board, please. Okay. Ready? Go! I have taken Who Wants to Be a Millionaire into consideration. It is one of my favorite game shows, or at least it used to be before it got all screwed up. But, you know, there's plenty of spots left open for season 2, so we'll see what happens. Technically 3 questions, but I'll take it. No, I did not have all the game shows picked out beforehand. I had the storyline plotted out from day one. I actually only knew 2 or 3 episodes in advance which game shows I wanted to review. And as for the 90s nostalgia, well, these are the game shows I grew up with. As for the game shows of the 80s, I know the Rerun and Game Show Network. Yes, it will. In fact, I'm finding a ton of interesting information about Scrabble, and I hope to find enough material for Scrabble Showdown to do it justice. I mean, it's a game show that held the name Scrabble, right? And that's technically what the review's about. No, unfortunately, no, I had to answer no to this one. Now, don't get me wrong, I love game shows, but my production schedule and real life in general keep my time prohibitively tight. Well, this one's kind of hard to judge, truthfully. I mean, it's hard to call one game show weird over another, and the same kind of goes with comments, so I really can't answer this one truthfully. Oh, I knew someone was going to ask that. Well, oh, and that's time. Well, I guess you'll just have to tune in to the rest of the show to see what's in store for me. Well, I hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Now, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the handle currently on your screen, and maybe even go visit our Facebook page at the address currently on your screen. Maybe even hit the like button. Well, thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I am happy to have the opportunity to answer your questions about this show. And of course, I don't need a special to answer your questions. Feel free to email me at the address currently on your screen at any time. Well, that's going to do it for me. I'm your game show reviewer. May the odds be ever in your favor. And that sounded familiar, so I can't use that as a tagline. Oh well, to my one fan, game show reviewer, so long.
Contestants may receive, nothing, I guess. Oh well, this is Ben Minot. What the hell was I doing the voice? Speaking for the Game Show Reviewer, a Grid 17 internet television production.